All right, everyone. So today I wanted to talk about some major mistakes when it comes to farming food and experience from the campaign. So let's jump right to it. I'm going to leave out the really basic stuff, like if you guys are going to be doing a lot of farming, make sure that you have a double experience boost active and things of that nature, and get into some slightly other stuff that you might not necessarily think as much about. So let's start off with number one on the list right here, and this is a really important one, now so more than ever, and I'll explain why, and that's going to be not knowing the exact amount of experience that you need in order to hit max level for your food champions. And I'll just go ahead and show you guys a chart right here. You can take a screenshot of it or come back to this video later, do what you have to do, but have these numbers in mind here. And this is the actual amount of experience that you need to go from level 1 to the max level for various champions and whatever star level they are. And it's important to know the actual maximum amount of experience because now we have a lot of different kinds of experience boosts, and the numbers are a little tiny bit different now. We have the Battle Pass, so the Battle Pass has the Battle Pass experience boost, double experience boost, Raid Pass. There's a lot going on now, so the actual amount of experience that you are going to get when it comes to farming, it could actually vary, whereas before I was pretty much always saying you're going to be getting 10,283 experience per run if you have the Raid Pass and you have the double experience boost. Well, now the numbers are a bit different depending on what other boosts you actually have. And depending on how much experience you are getting and how much experience your food champions need in order to get to max level, it's important to actually know because you might be able to shave down the amount of energy that it takes for you to fully max out the food that you're farming. Like, for example, I know for me right now, when it comes to 2-star champions, when I'm farming Brutal, that very last run, I actually don't need to do on Brutal because they don't really need a whole lot of experience in order to get that very last level or so. So I can actually go down to the hard difficulty and end up running that. I know it's only 2 energy, but it's going to add up to be quite a bit over the long term, especially with how much food that you farm in Raid Shadow Legends. Even if you don't decide to drop down from, say, brutal to hard or brutal to normal, you can end up, going and using brews at some point. Whatever system you do decide to use, it's still important to know the actual maximum experience, how much experience you're getting per run, and you might actually be able to just figure out a way for yourself that is farming a bit more efficiently to save your resources. So very important now so more than ever with the Battle Pass. All right, moving on to number 2. This is a really big one and probably one of the major mistakes that I struggled with, especially until I really learned how many different sources of low rarity champions there are in the game, and that is over farming experience for leveling 1-star food. Now, I know this is going to be really common if you are newer because you're probably not going to have a lot of mystery shards. You're not really going to have a lot of silver in order to buy food champions to level up and whatnot. But as soon as you can kind of move out of the range of over leveling your 1-star food, you're going to want to do so. Farming food is such a major energy investment in Raid Shadow Legends that even taking out that first step right there of spending that energy and leveling up that 1-star food to turn it into 2-star food, if you can get rid of that step, you are going to lower the amount of energy that it needs to 6-star champion by a tremendous amount. I don't remember the exact number, but it's probably 1,000 or so energy, maybe even more. It's crazy. So of course, when it comes to your actual summons, mystery shards will give you about a 1 in 4 chance, a little bit less than that, of giving you 2 stars. But also another thing is when you do have the silver available, and if you are newer or you don't really have a lot of silver, I would always recommend keeping a decent reserve for artifact enhancement events and whatnot. But once you get to a certain point, even with upgrading all the artifacts that you want to, you're still probably going to notice that you have more silver than you can actually spend. And what you can do is in the market there is going to be 2-star champions. Now of course you always want to buy the mystery shards when you can because they're always going to be the best value, but 2-star champions, even though they are more expensive, if you've got the extra silver and you're not really spending it and you just notice that your silver number keeps going up, definitely going to be worth it. Save that energy. You can use that energy on so many other sources in the game, like farming dungeons, farming masteries, all that sort of stuff, that saving any steps to the major grind that is campaign farming is going to be a big thing right there. So that's a really big one. Thought I would talk about that for a second because that's one that I personally made a lot of errors on earlier on. All right, number 3, over farming normal or hard when you can move up in difficulty. So this is going to be another really big one that I personally struggled with, and it's very important to, especially those of you guys who are still not farming brutal, if you are farming normal or hard, you are not getting as much experience per energy. So yes, it's going to be easier. Yes, it's going to cost less energy. But if you actually do the math and break down how much experience per energy you get from normal, hard versus brutal, each difficulty that you go up, the actual efficiency goes up by around 10% or so. Might be a little bit different, maybe 8%, 12%, but in that general ballpark. So that means that as you can move forward in the difficulties, you are getting rewarded for being able to farm more difficult content. So if you have been farming normal for a while and you've kind of gotten comfortable, definitely still make sure that you're keeping up with progressing your account and trying to get too hard, because the more that you farm normal, the less efficient you are using your resources. If you could move up to a higher difficulty and farm that instead, you're just going to get more value out of your actual energy. Same with hard to brutal. But brutal to nightmare, I'm going to get into in a second, because that's where things change a little bit. I still think for the most part, now of course there are going to be a couple of exceptions and I'll talk about it in a second, but for the most part, most people are still probably going to want to stick to brutal when it comes to experience farming. So stage 12.3 or stage 12.6 are most likely going to be your best bets right there. So that's a very big one. All right, so now going back to talking about Nightmare. So farming Nightmare, for the most part, I would say that it's a mistake and it's not going to be worth it. It's not going to be the best use of your energy. Now, it is going to technically be a bit more efficient when it comes to the experience that you get, and it is about 10% more experience per energy than brutal. However, it is way less silver per energy, and I mean way less when you actually calculate how much silver you get from the items that you sell when you're farming brutal versus the items that you get from Nightmare. When you break it all down, it's a lot less silver, and it's also very time consuming. Even as an endgame player, if you have champions that can run through it, it's still going to be a lot longer than farming brutal. So the main thing though is the fact that even though it's a little bit more experience, it is a lot less silver. The exceptions are, of course, if you have so much silver that at that point you really just truly don't care about silver and all you care about is experience. If you have a good Nightmare farmer and you're really in the end game, absolutely go for it. The other exception is if you are looking for specific gear from Nightmare, that is totally fine because you can get 6-star gear from Nightmare. Now, I would still say dungeons are absolutely going to be the best place to farm gear, but if you're really trying to target farm something very, very specific, like if you are really trying to go for, 6-star speed boots, Nightmare is an option here. You can go to stage 6, go to right here, and you will have that option in order to get it to drop. Now, it's going to be very low. It's going to be way less efficient for your silver. Stage 6 is also, or the 6th place, Palace of Aravia is going to be much less efficient for experience than Brimstone Path. But if you've got other goals besides experience, then, feel free to do what you need to do for the actual progress of your account. Now, Nightmare, as you can see, it is 16 energy, so it's twice as much as Brutal, but it gives more than twice as much experience. So you're looking at about 2.2 times the experience, which is about 10% more experience efficient. All right, so Nightmares really kind of depend on the goals that you have with your accounts. Next up on the list is over-investing in a 7 to 8 second, or what a lot of people would say is a speed farmer, a speed campaign farmer, campaign clear, whatever you want to call it. There's lots of videos on YouTube talking about which champions are the best for a campaign farmer. This is totally fine when you really get into the mid and end game, and you've kind of worked on all other areas of the game. But if you are still a newer player, you really don't want to over-invest in a crazy campaign farmer right away. It's totally fine to use other champions that cannot farm the campaign in 7 to 8 seconds. You really don't want to invest all of your resources into one thing. You want to make sure that you're progressing in other areas of the game, because it's going to take a lot to get to the point where you can farm the campaign in 7 to 8 seconds. And those resources, for those of you who aren't in the mid and end game, are probably going to be better used in other areas first. Now, another thing too is the major limiting factor when it comes to campaign farming isn't the amount of seconds that it actually takes in order to clear through the campaign. it's actually the amount of energy. So regardless of whether it takes 8 seconds or 30 seconds, it still takes 8 energy per run, and each energy takes 3 minutes to refill. So, you're still probably going to run out of energy or have to use refills. Either way, whether you're farming it quickly or slowly, and you can turn plenty of really good rare champions, even all the starter champions, into decent campaign farmers, work on other areas of the game, and then kind of come back to it later. That should absolutely not be your #1 focus in the game until you've done other stuff. So that's definitely a big one, and I think a lot of people have started to do that, especially with how many videos there are on YouTube with campaign farmers. They think that that's got to be the first thing that they work on, and that's absolutely not true. Alright, this is another one, a little bit smaller, but still, hey, it's going to be something, especially if you've got the extra space when it comes to your champion vault and storage, and that is the mistake of just ranking up your food champions right away. Now, if you're limited on storage, then this really isn't going to be an option for you. However, if you've got the champion storage, what you actually want to do is not rank up your champions right away. Because what you can do is you can actually save your max ranked champions for when we have a event going on, and then rank them up and get the points. Like right now, we have a major champion training event going, 30,000 points. And if you were able to farm earlier on before this event started, and you had some champions that were already waiting in your storage or your vault at max level, you can rank them up now when this event starts and get some points right off the bat without really getting into farming too much. Now, of course, this really is going to depend on how much space you have, and also if you are limited on space, make sure you try to keep the highest star ones at max level as you possibly can. So if you've only got 20 or 30 spaces, you don't want to keep a bunch of 2 stars at max level. You want to rank those up and then level them up to 3 stars and maybe keep those, or then maybe level them up again, rank them up, and then get them up to 4 stars and then keep those at max rank so you get even more points. Either way, however you do this, based on the amount of storage you have, based on other factors, it's just extra stuff that you can end up getting when events roll around. But this is going to lead into the final thing that I want to talk about in the video today, and probably the biggest mistake that I have personally made when it comes to campaign farming, experience farming, food farming, just all that stuff in general in Raid Shadow Legends. And it does have to do with one of these major events that we have going on right now, and that is spending way too much time leveling up spare food and not progressing in other areas of the game. I think it's really easy, especially considering how simple it is to campaign farm. It's just brutal, 12-3, 12-6 over and over and over again. It doesn't really take that much effort. It's really easy to kind of get into the habit of over farming and getting a lot of spare food in times where you really don't necessarily need it. And I say that because there are so many champion training events in Raid Shadow Legends. This has got to be the most frequently run event that they have. Summon Rushes used to be, but not really anymore with all the different tournaments that they have, but we still get an insane amount of champion training events, and they've lately been getting to a ridiculous number of points. So there's plenty of opportunity and time to level up a whole bunch of food in Raid Shadow Legends. I would really try to focus my resources when we have these events going on. It's still fine to level up food outside of these events because you are always really going to be working on food in a sense, but I'm trying to say we have so many of these events that you really don't need to overstock up on food, because probably in a week, 2 weeks, maybe even less, there will be another champion trending event with another massive amount of points and another opportunity to farm a lot of food. So don't get too fixated on it. Work on other areas of the game. It's important to try to progress your account when it comes to dungeons, the arena, clan boss, and whatnot, and there are always going to be lots of opportunities to level up food. I don't think that that aspect of the game is really going anywhere anytime soon. So anyway, that's going to be a wrap up for the video today. I hope that this helped out, especially to those of you guys who spend a lot of time leveling food, which honestly, that's probably going to be pretty much everyone, because this really is Raid Shadow Legends that we're talking about. So thank you guys again for watching the video. I hope that you guys enjoyed. If you guys enjoyed this video and you want more like this in the future, consider subscribing to the channel. If you want to help out, tossing a like means more than you can imagine, and more Raid Shadow Legends videos coming out pretty much every single day. Keep an eye out on the channel. We're getting really close to 200 videos. Thank you very much. Getting close to 35,000 subscribers. Thank you as well. And that's going to be it for today. Have a great day, everyone. Take care. This is Salt of the Salty Guild, signing out.